Hello everybody, welcome to the channel once again, and today we finally have access to screenshots from the Famitsu special issue that has the Movelist for Hulk, Loki, Deadpool, and also Carnage. So in this video we're going to have kind of like our first look into what exactly is going to be the overall special moves and the playstyle of all of those characters that we don't have almost any footage outside of the official trailers for their teams. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content from Marvel Tōkon and other fighting games as well. And now let's get into it. Okay, so first, obviously, all the credit to this person on Twitter that uploaded all the screenshots because I didn't have access to the actual magazine. So everything on this guy, which name I'm not gonna read out loud. And essentially we have, you know, like original screenshots in Japanese. And I have on the side like the images which are translated. Okay, they do have very bad like res, you know, they're very low resolution, so we're gonna have to just, you know, take what we can and read this with the very like baseline level translation and then the bad resolution, but it's the best thing that we can do to check out the characters and what they do. So let's first talk about Hulk and read his move list, because he's probably one of the characters that most people want to know what the hell it is that he's gonna do. And it says basic performance, a power type character to boost long reach attacks utilizing his giant frame and techniques with excellent piercing power. Okay, makes sense. He's unable to use air dashes. Ooh, that's actually kind of like a big limitation for a tag game, but it does make sense that he cannot air dash if he's gonna have armor and stuff like that. And then it says, instead he possesses armor techniques that can withstand opponents' attacks without flinching. Yeah, so he essentially has like super armor on a ton of his attacks, which makes sense with the trailer. You know, when you take a look at the trailer for Hulk, he just goes through a ton of attacks from the opponent, and he's always in the ground. Like, he's mostly a grounded character. And then it says, surviving attacks with his armor moves raises gamma level, increasing his attack power. The charging versions can be performed by holding down the attack button. Okay, so that means essentially that Hulk is gonna have like a unique resource mechanic in which the more that he gets hit, the stronger that he is. That feels kind of like Incineroar in Super Smash Bros. When, you know, the more that you hit Incineroar when he's like charging, he actually does more damage. But I don't know, because this is a very baseline level translation, so there could be a lot of details that are wrong, right? I don't know if when they say that the attack power increases, if they mean damage, or that if, you know, Hulk actually gets this like higher gamma level, he gets more super armor, because it could be not that he does more damage, but that he actually can just withstand more hits with the moves that have armor. So we have to wait and see actual gameplay to understand if it is either damage or just more hits of super armor. And then up here we also have almost like a lore breakdown. Genius scientist Bruce Banner, due to a freak accident, was exposed to massive amounts of gamma radiation, resulting in this form. Normally he's a quiet, soft-spoken person, but when his emotion swell, he transforms into a green behemoth with immense power. Yeah, just classic, you know, Hulk. In this story, it is said that he was exiled to an island inhabited by dinosaurs. So the lore, it is that, you know, that Iron Man and Captain America exile Hulk to the Savage Land, which is kind of nuts, but it is pretty interesting. And then down here, comment from the developers, it says each of his skills has an armor version that can withstand opponents' attacks, so we recommend using that to advance and overwhelm them with raw power. If you activate the Gamma Spark when the Gamma Gauge is at maximum, his skills will further strength. Wait, what? His skill will be, you know, stronger, so aim for it aggressively. So that means, again, that like your goal playing Hulk every single round is going to be getting the max level of Gamma that you can get, and then turning on the Gamma Spark, which is probably like an enhanced version of the character in which he has like insane super armor on all of the attacks. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then the actual moves, these are probably like some of the worst translations. It says Gamma Spark and Unique, which is the name of the buff from the like Gamma Gauge, right? Then Gamma Levels, Gamma Rage, these are probably just a specific like characteristics of the character while the Gamma, you know, levels are going up. And then she has a stomp, giant stomp. That is probably one of the moves that we saw in the trailer, in which he does like a stomp from the air into the ground. Then Thunderclap, that is also in the trailer when he claps, you know, like Doom's face, I think, in the trailer. Skull Crush, Violent Charge, and Seismic Smash. So it is probably like a big clap, right? Skull Crush is probably like a close range attack. Violent Charge is just like the neutral skip that he does in the trailer, where he goes through like Doom's shield and all of that. And then Seismic Smash is probably similar to like what he does in Marvel vs. Capcom, where he hits the ground and he throws like rocks from the ground and stuff like that. And then the supers, you know, that's also in some of the trailers. So we have seen them technically. The first one is almost like a Commander style super. Then the ultimate skill is like an explosion of gamma energy, right? And then I don't know what else he does, because I think that's the only thing that we got from the trailer. And then the final assemble, we have not seen it. So that would be kind of like a breakdown for Hulk. He's essentially a resource character that needs to play grounded, that plays around armor, and that every single round, your goal is to go through your opponent's attacks, you know, with neutral skips and all the armor. And then when you're on their face, you're overwhelming with offense. And you're probably going to need to use a lot of assists with this character to make, you know, all the neutral skips safe. And when you get to the highest gamma level, right, you turn on the gamma spark, and the character becomes like a buff version of the Hulk, and he's essentially stronger. So that's kind of like the game plan of what it's looking for Hulk. Then the next character that we have is Deadpool. This image is actually a bit better when it comes to the resolution, which is great. So it says basic performance while possessing both a standard and unique skills. He's an all-range character for advanced players, okay? They're gonna make Deadpool a hard character to play. That's kind of interesting. And he can skillfully use abundant abilities. He does have a lot of moves, holy, okay? When enduring an opponent's attack, a healing is generated, so he does have a healing factor. And by consuming that gauge, various EX's skills change. His unique skill, Mid Shield, okay, allows him to create the gauge on his own. So maybe he has the ability to like take away a little bit of health to like buff some of his moves. That's actually pretty interesting. And then he has the Mid Shield, which I guess it is that he sacrifices life for like some sort of buff, right? Collateral damage, faulty grenade, additional input. So this is like a Rekka. He has a couple of Rekkas because he has attacks with multiple inputs. And he has Roman Cancel. In the trailer, we do see Deadpool doing a Roman Cancel, but I thought that it was mostly like a joke almost in the trailer. But are we saying that Deadpool can actually Roman Cancel like a Guilty Gear character inside Marvel Tōkon? That's insane. That's so cool. So he has a lot of attacks, and then all the special moves, because all of these are the uniques, right? And what about this? It says Trigger Happy, Chimichanga Chop, the names, man. It's Slice and Dice, Death from Above, and also has additional input, so he does have multiple Rekkas. And then fourth wall attack, and additional input. So he's probably gonna be quite, like, complex. He has a lot of moves, and it does say, you know, openly that it is a character for advanced players. He's probably gonna have not only a lot of moves, but like every single move is gonna have a very specific use or like role in the playstyle of the character. So he's gonna be really interesting. I'm kind of surprised though that they're gonna make Deadpool a hard character, because he's so popular that I feel like you would want him to be a character for beginners, but there's other characters in the game that are great for beginners, so it's kind of whatever, right? And he is kind of like a love letter to fighting games. You know, he's full of references and stuff like that, so it is pretty nice that they make him like a super deep fighting game character. And then the supers, I don't remember if we see some of the supers in the trailer for Deadpool. I think we do, yeah. I just don't remember the exact animations, but this screenshot right here is like from a super. And then it says, a former Special Forces operative who was injected with Wolverine's healing factor. As a side effect, his skin is scarred and his mind is consumed by madness. Yep. People are seeing into this world. In this title, he learns techniques from game strategy magazines. That's so cool, actually. So the explanation why Deadpool knows so many fighting game moves is because he reads like strategy magazines from the arcade era and he learns the moveset. That's so cool, man. And techniques from legendary fighting games may even appear, yeah. And then developer comment, his strength lies in using Trigger Happy for zoning. Okay, which is this move. So he has like a good projectile. And then Chimichanga Chop to break guards. What do you mean break guards? It probably means like mixing people up. Because when you read break guard, and you know, I think of something like on Tekken when you actually open up somebody that is blocking. But I doubt that Deadpool is going to have that on his moveset. Like, break guard probably means just a good mix-up tool. So Chimichanga Chop is probably just a mix-up move. And then the fourth wall break attack consumes the healing gauge, but it allows for a diverse range of attacks, so please test its capabilities by using various techniques. Okay, so when he does the fourth wall attack and he consumes like some of the health, he's probably gonna have a ton of like power-up moves. So very interesting. It does feel like it is harder to understand what he's gonna do when compared to somebody like Hulk, because even the names of Hulk's special moves are like very obvious to what they're gonna do. But with Deadpool, we do have a bit of footage from the trailer, and he does look like a character that does a lot. You know, like he just has so many different special moves, and they all do different things. So it's going to be one of the most complex and interesting characters in the game, which is great, and he's an amazing reference to other fighting games, so a lot of good work from the developers behind Deadpool. And then for the third character, we have Carnage. This is another character that I feel everybody wants to know what the hell it is that he does. And it says, by transforming his body, he can unleash versatile attacks using his tentacles. So he does like shape-shifting, right? Makes sense. He has long reach and primarily excels at mid to long range combat. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it does, you know, fit with what we see on the trailer. And it seems like he's gonna be similar to Ghost Rider or even longer range. And it says, landing various tentacle attacks on the opponent activates the symbiotic state, which increases the power, and you can chip away the opponent, really, the opponent's health even from above their guard or while they're blocking, right? So fight while maintaining this state. So that means that Carnage is a chip damage type of character. Like, he wants to make you block when he's on symbiotic state, and you're gonna lose health by, you know, playing defense, essentially. It's actually very interesting. It's the only character in the game until now that has a mechanic like that. It's similar to like Darius, right, in 2xKO, where Darius can essentially win by making you block with some setups. It is very interesting, but I don't understand if this like symbiotic state is actually a buff for Carnage or like a debuff for the opponent, but I guess that is not that relevant. So that means that every single match with Carnage, you're gonna try to essentially get that symbiotic state and put the opponent in a situation in which they are very overwhelmed by your offense, and you either open them up and actually make damage, or you just chip them because they're blocking too much and you have the symbiotic state up. And then it says, developers comment, landing a Parasite Fang, regardless of hit or guard, triggers the necrosis state, where multiple skills inflict this state for a limited time. I guess that the necrosis state, or whatever way this is called, is the same thing that the symbiotic state. It might be a translation error. And then it says, utilize standing heavy attacks, close range attacks, and holding attacks to chip away the opponent's health even while they're blocking. So fight while maintaining this state. So yeah, the most defining thing about Carnage is going to be getting that necrosis or like symbiotic state to chip people. It's going to be the most important thing about the character. And then it says Parasite Fang, which is probably one of the attacks that give you the symbiotic state, right? And it has an additional input, so it kind of works like a Rekka. Parasite Bomb, it says holding symbiotic state, hit or guarded. Okay, the translations are kind of weird, but it feels like a thing that you can extend while you are on the symbiotic state. Then Vicious Cube, Vicious Sight, Mutilate, Dismember, 10th Axe. The name of the attacks are crazy. But he probably has a lot of like super long range attacks. So a lot of this stuff is just gonna be giant, like you know, limb extensions with weapons and shape shifting, sorry, and things like that. And then Bloodlust, you know, the supers. We do see the supers a little bit in the trailer, but I also don't remember the exact ones for each, like level 1, level 2, and stuff like that. You know, 50 meter, 100 meter. But the character does seem very interesting, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people wanted Carnage to be like a rushdown character, similar to like Venom, but he's gonna be a long-range like setup character, because you want to essentially play in the long range all the match, and then, well, you get like this symbiotic or necrosis state, you go into offense, right? And you make people either block or you open them up with mix-ups, and if they just keep blocking, you chip them. So I feel like maybe a lot of people are gonna be like disappointed by the playstyle of this character, but if his animations are really cool and he just looks incredible, like, I don't think it matters that much. So he's probably gonna be very fun anyway. So that would be kind of like Carnage and his playstyle. And then for the last character, we have Loki. I feel like Loki is one of the most interesting characters in the game, because he was kind of like a surprise, and also his moveset looked really, really interesting in his trailer. But let's take a look at the move list. So it says, he's the adopted brother of Thor, the god of thunder, and also known as the god of guile. Compared to Thor, who was excel in prowess and raised as a hero, Loki grew up jealous and became a villain. However, in this work, or in this game, right, it seems his heart has changed and he has begun to walk the path of justice as a hero, okay? So he is an anti-hero in this game, essentially. And what does he do? It says, a technical and rather mischievous, I don't know how to say that word, a character with numerous techniques that toy with the opponent. In addition to various feint techniques, he fights while perplexing opponents with a number of tricky techniques, such as range attacks using ice and magic. So he's going to be like what he's supposed to be, right? Like a very tricky, weird character that has a lot of feints and weird like fake attacks and fake outs and all of that. And it says, however, if the trick is seen through by the opponent, a swift and painful counterattack will come, so be careful. Yeah. So like Loki is going to be a high risk, high reward character, because you're going to be using moves all the time that are either feints or like fake outs, And if you do it right, you're gonna get a full combo on the opponent because you're gonna make them whiff like a big attack or something like that. But if the opponent reads that attack, that feint, or that fake out, then you're gonna get punished very hard. So like Loki is going to be quite probably like a relatively hard character to play, not in the sense of, you know, mechanically, but in his playstyle, because it's gonna be always high risk, high reward, highly likely. Then developers comment, it says various skills are feints, and by holding, I don't know what that button is, I think that's like heavy, you know, like the heavy attack in the game. The skills change if you hold them, right? And holding changes the skill into an attack. So that means that like when you do a feint or a fake out, if you hold maybe heavy, if this is the button that I'm getting, right? You can do like the feint into an actual follow-up and then get a full combo from the feint if the opponent is, you know, like whiffing or stuff like that. And by mixing these attacks while fighting with normal skills, the hallucinatory, I don't know how to say that word either, guys, effect increases. So try to interweave or intertwine along with other skills. So it's going to be a tricky character to play, but probably very fun. I feel like the way they designed Loki, which is that he's super like based on all this fake out, you know, stuff, and doing like feints and all of that and fake attacks, is gonna be so fun to play. And he has Nordstone. Wait, why is the unique the same name of this skill? That's probably like a translation mistake. What is this? Goddard Damerung? Lurking Shadow, Phantom Blade, Luffy's Embrace. I don't know what attacks are specifically because, again, like with the case of Hulk, the name of the attacks are so obvious, but with characters like this, it's harder. But probably there is like one of these special moves that is like the elemental attacks, other ones that are the feints, right, and the fake outs. Then you're also probably gonna have some sort of like a neutral skip attack with this character and all the follow-ups from the fake outs and your supers. So that's kind of like, you know, the entire breakdown of all the characters and the move list that we have. I'm sorry, you know, if they are like low quality in terms of visuals, because sadly they are very low resolution, but it is what we got. Again, all the credit to the people on Twitter that actually found all of this stuff. And I hope you know that it was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the Marvel Tōkon content, and see you on the next video. Take care.